Hey, friends, welcome to the Goddess Money Healing Circle podcast. My name is Essence Turner, and I am your host, as well as a Sacred Money Archetypes coach and a Radical Forgiveness coach. I specialize in profound and deep energy healing. But this podcast is for empaths and spiritual souls who, like me, have a love-hate relationship with money, but want to change it. Together, we will gather in circle to heal our relationship with money and change our money stories from surviving to thriving. Spiritually, circles represent God, rebirth, and growth. So come grow with me in this sacred circle as we explore metaphysics, the laws of prosperity, and the sacred money archetypes to deepen our understanding of spiritual wealth and abundance. You ready? Let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Circle. I am your host, Essence Turner, and today I have with me a very special guest, my best friend, Pam Sykes. I call her Cookie, so you might hear me call her Cookie during this episode. And today we are talking about the sacred money archetypes and how to make peace with money and your relationship with money. And so I invited my best friend on with me because I just didn't want to have this be a one-sided conversation. I wanted to talk about the money archetypes in conversation with someone who has a career versus another entrepreneur, because I'm sure I'm going to have more entrepreneurial conversations around this. So I wanted to have you on, and just any insight or questions from you in regards to how the money archetypes may apply in the corporate world versus, entrepreneurship. And she's just a genuinely curious person. So I just want to see what genuine questions may come up from someone who doesn't know much about the money archetypes. I have given her a few questions just to help her get her feet wet. But again, Cookie, any genuine curiosity that arises, don't hesitate to ask to keep this energy and momentum of the episode going. Okay.
Great.
How you feeling?
I feel good. Okay. And coming from the background working in corporate, but I've also been an entrepreneur. So it's highly important for me to have this understanding to talk about the money archetypes and how it can affect, your outcomes, with your goals and things that you envision for yourself, and having that good relationship around money is important. So happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So do you want to tell everybody what it is that you do?
Well, I am a training manager for a healthcare company, and they are one of the largest healthcare companies out of the Northeastern part of the United States. I work in the Medicare sales division, but I have a background also in doing taxes on the side. That's always kind of been my entrepreneurial side, but it's not a large business. And this is something that I do want to grow. And I do have barriers that I realize I've set in front of me that prevents me from progressing in a direction of growing wealth in that business. So I feel like sometimes when I got the vision for my goals to get to certain outcomes career-wise or working in corporate, it was easy for me to say yes to myself, and that was part of the journey. But and I had a vision of the kind of money I wanted to make, and I envisioned it. I made it a part of my everyday. And so I guess one of my questions about this will be surrounded about if you can create that for yourself in one aspect, why is it so hard to do it for yourself, right? In your own business. So I'll be asking some questions.
Oh, this is wonderful. I really love that. So yeah, you have a career, but you have that entrepreneurial spirit inside of you. And I know that, but I just haven't heard you talk about that, you wanting to do more with your own entrepreneur pursuits. So like, this is perfect, because I tend to attract these types of women, and I know there'll be a majority that like have, you know, career or like work in some aspect, but like want to start something, you know, on the side in hopes that that is one day their full-time income. So this is perfect.
And you know, it's funny, like I don't talk about it because that's the obstacle that I create for myself. It's like I want to stay hidden. Get in front and say, hey, this is me and what I want to do, right? And I know that you need to have that in order for you to put yourself out there and, you know, get back what you're looking for, right? But I gotta stay silent behind the wall. So
Gotcha. And yes, so understanding about your archetypes will definitely help you with that. And that is probably what is holding you back. Those daggone archetypes. They are good and beautiful and wonderful, but they have that unhelpful side too. So we're going to talk about that. So let's get started. I'm going to start my episodes with pulling a card, because this is what I do in my in-person circles most of the time, is we'll pull a goddess card to see what our message is. And this is Goddess Brigitte. Don't back down. Stand up for what you believe is right. And she I don't know if you can see it, but like she's holding this, you can't really see it, fire.
okay.
Fire. So what this is saying to me is really about that dream, that fire you have inside of you for whatever it is you want to do or go for, and like don't back down. I think it's a perfect card for this episode.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to begin circle with our invocation. So if I can invite you to close your eyes, any of you who are driving, please do not close your eyes. But for those of you where it's safe, close your eyes. And let's start with taking 3 deep breaths in together, breathing in and exhale. Breathing in again and exhale. One more time, deep breath in, then exhale. I want you to just bring to mind being in circle with us, and use your imagination to determine how big the circle is, how many women are gathered here together with us, and just see us all in circle holding hands, feeling the energy of all your sisters surrounding you. We call on Mother, Father God, and all the goddesses who've come before us. We ask that your loving energy and wisdom encircle our circle. Help us to open our hearts, our minds, our ears to receive the blessings that are in store for us today. We thank you for the gifts and the insights that we'll walk away with, and for the seeds that are planted and will blossom in their own divine time. Bless us all. Hold us all in your light. Hold us in your love. We thank you. And so it is. And with that, circle is open. All right. So, as I was saying before, we are going to be talking about the sacred money archetypes and making peace with money. Okay, so money wants to be in harmony with you. That is the way we are always going to think and keep at the forefront of our mind, is like money wants to be with us. Money wants to help us have all of the experiences and live the exact way that we want to live. Money wants this for us, and God wants this for us. So if there is anything that's in the way, that's like not happening in the way that you would like, it's not because money doesn't want to be with you, and it's not because God doesn't want you to have it. So then it's like, okay, where am I in the way? Okay. And so that's the way I want all of us to begin to think. If we're not experiencing something that we would like in the way we would like, there's a mental, emotional, or spiritual block on our part. God always says yes. Money always says yes. Sometimes it may be yes, maybe not right now, but it's still a yes, you know what I mean? So some of the ways that we may be out of alignment with money may be stressed and anxious about money, unable to save even though you make plenty. Maybe you actually don't have enough, or maybe have a lack mentality even if you are making enough. Maybe you overspend but still say, where did my money go? Or perhaps you under earn, knowing that you deserve to be paid more, but aren't taking action to make more or ask for more. Maybe have a hard time charging, or over giving to friends, family, not knowing when to say no, or have boundaries around money. So these are just it was more than a few, but this is not an exhaustive list of all the issues we can have with money, but these are a few that I've seen in my relationship with money, clients' relationship with money, and just talking to other, my coach friends and entrepreneurs. These are some of the things that, come up for us. And so what I love about the archetype work is that the archetypes are like a blueprint. They can show us what faulty behaviors are showing up. Like, I may not be able to articulate it. I may just know something is not right between me and my money. But then when I look at my archetype and I can see, oh, they do this, they think this way. Yep, I do that. Now I know what to change because I can identify it. I can pinpoint it. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Take it away.
All right. So how do you find out about money archetypes? Like, how will you know what your archetype is?
Okay. Yeah. So it starts off with taking a quiz. Okay. So there is a Sacred Money Archetype quiz. It is on my website under Sacred Money Quiz. And it's about 8 to 10 minutes long. It's a total of 64 questions. And you answer each question honestly at the place of where you are with money, not where you think you should be or where you want to be, because the more honest that you are in your answers, the more accurate your archetypes will be. And that's what we're shooting for. So there's no judgment around, the answers to the questions. It's multiple choice. It's like all the way from strongly agree to strongly disagree. And so the statements just might be something like, I spend every dollar that comes in. And it will be like somewhere between strongly agree and strongly disagree. And again, it's just like, do it like a science experiment. There's no judgment. You just are marking the answers. And then at the end, it'll give you, it'll list all 8 archetypes, but it will score them in order. And we work with your top 3 archetypes. So all 8 money archetypes are within us, within everybody, but it's our top 3 are the ones that are most dominant, meaning the ones that have the most influence over us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So what are those money archetypes? Like, I mean, can you name a few?
Yeah, no, okay, we'll go over all 8, and I will it'll be a brief synopsis of all 8. And this is what I want you to do. Like, let's make this like an exercise and interactive. So I'm going to list all 8. I want everybody to write them down. And then as I go back and then read the description for each one, I want you to just make a check mark to see, like, is this something that resonates? Okay. And then you can go back and then, or after this episode, go and take the quiz to see what your top 3 are, because this is really where the work will need to be done. Okay. So the first one is accumulator. So you can number them 1 through 8, and we'll just start here. Number 1 is the accumulator. Number 2 is alchemist. 3 is maverick. 4 is celebrity. 5 is ruler. 6 is connector. 7 is romantic. And 8 is nurturer.
Okay.
Okay, so you got all 8 written down. Okay.
Read them again to make sure I have them right.
Sure. Okay.
I have 1 as accumulator, 2 is alchemist, 3 is maverick, 4 is celebrity, 5 is ruler, 6 is connector, 7 is romantic, and 8 is nurturer.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I just want to say, anytime that I noticed in my last podcast interview I did last week, I would, let's say I'm talking about the accumulator, and then at some point I start calling it the alchemist. So like, if you see me do that, please correct me, because I don't want to be confusing people. Okay. So we'll start with number 1, the accumulator. So each archetype has a nickname that gives a little brief description, and the accumulator's nickname is your inner banker. Okay. So the accumulators, they have an emotional connection to money. They get great joy and happiness around saving, and they are naturally good at money management. But when they're living in their money shadow, meaning the unhelpful or toxic behaviors, they can feel anxious and worried about spending even the smallest amount of money. What may seem commonplace to other people is like a big deal to the accumulator to spend. So let's say, like, I'm an accumulator. It's like most people, what's commonplace is, let's say, getting their nails done, and I'm like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I mean by commonplace. And they can also be known as frugal.
But I was gonna say frugal sounds that comes to mind.
And when they're living in their potential, they're creating financial independence and being financially responsible.
Okay.
Then we have, so again, everybody, so as I'm speaking or after, then you'll just write a check mark, or maybe you mark an X, so that you know that this one didn't resonate. Okay, so it's going to be either check mark or X. Let's do that. Okay, then we have the alchemist. This is your inner idealist, and I like to call this the ideas guy. Like, you know, in the shows, and they have the marketing department, they'll like be like, this is Tom, he's our ideas guy. Like, that's how I see the alchemist. They're never short on ideas at any time, maybe having 5, 10 different ideas. They see possibilities everywhere, and I really see their energy as being like magical, or having like this like wizard vibe, and they love attracting money in like unusual or unconventional ways. But when they're living in their shadow, they have a love-hate relationship with money, and they can care more about, let's say, the movement or the work, or if they're art, like care more about the art than they do about money. So it's like, whatever the work is, it's like, this is, you know, the most valuable, and like money is way down on the pedestal. When they're living in their potential, they turn their ideas into money, meaning they can create a course or their product, or they go ahead and launch their business, or they take their idea to their boss instead of sitting on it. Like, you take your ideas and you do something with them, versus like just percolating and, you know. Okay. Okay. Then we have the maverick. This is your inner rebel with the cause. They are creative when it comes to generating money. They are rebellious and like to march to the beat of their own drum. They like to stand out from the crowd. They like taking risks. These are the risk takers, the gamblers. They may look for get-rich-quick schemes or like easy ways to make money. And when that is part of actually their shadow behavior, is the get rich quick schemes and like looking for the easy route. And they may get themselves into some financial trouble by gambling or, investing in things, trying to, take the easy route. And they can have financial highs and lows because like balance is kind of boring to them. Like they like to live on the edge. Okay. But when they're living in their potential, they value and pay attention to numbers and details, and they take calculated risk and create a sustainable financial income, or financial foundation, let's say. Next, we have the celebrity. So we are at number 4. This is your inner big shot, okay? They are magnetic and charismatic. They love being seen and standing out, and they will use their purchases to make sure they are seen and stand out. And they love entertaining and 5-star experiences, like to be VIP. But when they're living in their shadow, it's like they're purchasing and trying to stand out from a feeling of insecurity. And so this may mean that they're spending more than they actually have to cover up insecurities or to be seen in a different light. When they are living in their potential, though, they stand out, they spend from an empowered place, they use their charisma to exude powerful leadership skills, and people actually are drawn to them and want to follow and listen to them. Next, we have the ruler. This is your inner empire builder. And I see this as like your inner CEO. And she has a deep desire to create an empire where everyone thrives. Like she really wants everyone to win. And when she's in her shadow, she'll continuously work on that empire, like work her fingers to the bone day and night, not wanting to take time off. And nothing is ever good enough. Think about like perfection. She keeps going to the point of burnout. And so like that is a shadow aspect. But when they're living in their potential, they are visionaries, they create things of lasting value, and they make big impact and big income. Next, we have, what are we at? 6? Yes, we are at the connector. This is your inner relationship creator. Their connections to others help them they actually can lean on their relationship with others to generate income. So think of these people as like the networkers, and you don't have to be an extrovert. You can be an introvert and still have really deep, meaningful conversations and deep relationships that then you can lean on. Let's say if you need a job or you have want some people to get the word out about your new product or service. They really value those connections. They value heart-to-heart connections. And they're generally not really stressed about money. But when they're living in their shadow, the truth is they may not feel overly stressed on the surface, but deep down, they actually have worry and insecurity about money and their ability to earn. They may be isolated, not connecting with other people. And they may not charge and bill for their services or even ask for the raise because they feel so connected to the person on the other side of that transaction. Even if they just met them, because they build deep connections really quick. Then number 7, we have the romantic. This is your inner, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
What's the potential of the connection?
Oh, thank you. The potential is they educate themselves around money. They look at their money. They notice the value that they bring in their business or at work, and they charge appropriately or ask for the raises. They lean into their gifts of connection, meaning they actually connect with people, or they reach out and say, hey, anybody who, is hiring, I'm looking to, change careers, or again, hey, I got this product or service. Do you know anybody? Go ahead.
Well, I had a question when she finished about the connector, because also it comes to mind a personality type that might use people's connections to try and get over.
Oh yeah, that could be definitely shadow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It just came in my head. That's all. I didn't know.
No. And then okay, so we're back to the romantic, the inner heated. This is your inner hedonist, and hedonist is pleasure, like around pleasure seeking. So I actually call this your inner pleasurist or your inner self-care queen, because she loves beauty, she loves the finer things. And she'll pay like the extra money because let's say there's a red sweater that's, you know, this price, and then there's one that's a little more. And it's not about whether it's more, it's about like, let me feel the texture of this. How does this feel on my skin? Like she's into textures and smells. And I like to say she might drive an extra 5 miles to go to the store because they got the candle that has that vanilla scent that she loves that just fills the whole house. And I would be like, but there's a candle store right there, you know? My accumulator is very practical. But she wants what she wants, and she sometimes may overspend. Like this is in the shadow, may overspend because she feels like she deserves it. She just buys things because this is like her favorite thing to say is like, I deserve it. So then the budget may go out the window because I see this thing that I deserve. So and sometimes the buying may come from a place of loneliness or emptiness. So that's when they're purchasing out of the shadow. Mm-hmm. But when they're living in their potential, they find meaning and fulfillment in other ways outside of their purchases. And they're actually spending money on the things they really truly desire and the things that really bring them joy versus trying to fill a void. Then last we have go ahead.
I'm sorry, I had a question about the romantic. Because can it also be tied to creating the memory, the whatever the purchases are that say I deserve, is it creating the memory of it? Like you fall in love with, I purchased something that I desired and now I have it, but then the value of whatever that purchase was is gone after you purchase it. Like you're like tied to like the feeling of the purchase versus the actual need of the purchase, I guess.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that being a romantic vibe is it being about the experience, right? Because that still to me ties into that whole scent, texture, taste, you know what I mean? Like that whole earthly pleasure type of vibe that they have.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas let's say, and you know me, like an accumulator, I don't think in that way if it's not like practical. And so for like you, it may not, or let's say like a romantic, it's not about the practicality. It could just be like, I want this experience. You know what I mean? Even if it's just these 5 minutes now, I get to have it in my memory forever. But I'm like, but then it's gone, and 5 minutes later, you just spent $300. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Right. And but this is also something to say where it's like it's important, especially let's say like in relationships, to understand each other's archetypes, because then one may be judging somebody else's, you know, like the way they spend money. So like an accumulator might really be judging the way a romantic or a celebrity spends money. And it's like that's just who they are. That, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we think that everybody should spend money, feel the same way about money, and it's just not true. We all, because when we think about archetypes, they're like these money personalities, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's go on to the nurturer, which is the last one, and this is your inner sponsor. Think about this inner sponsor as like the inner caretaker. And And so they love being of service. They love helping other people, which really inspires them to share their money, share their resources, share their knowledge. Like, they love being there for people. They love having, like, if you are their people, they will have your back. They got you. But when they're living in their shadow, they may rescue people to the point of enabling them, whether it's with money or whether it's with advice. So it doesn't just have to be financial, but it's like they give to the point of enabling instead of allowing people, you know, to find their own way. And they may have trouble setting boundaries. But when they live in their potential, they can still be generous with their money or their information or resources, but know when to say no and implement boundaries and know how to hold other people as powerful instead of rescuing them. Okay. All right.
Yeah. As the nurturer, it seems like in their shadow selves, if that is the case, there's maybe some underlying reasoning why they enable people in that way, because they need self-fulfillment through those relationships in some fashion, whether it is maybe the power that you have in helping, enabling people. Some people need that, but also then maybe the insecure side is like you get hurt because people take advantage of that side of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when a nurturer doesn't know how to set boundaries, of course they can be taken taken advantage of. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I want to say, and then we can go back to any questions that you may have, is like, because I forgot, I usually like to do this even before I go down the list of the archetypes, is really understanding what an archetype is. And an archetype is a pattern of thought, pattern of behavior that are universally present in all human psyches. So every archetype, every personality that exists in people exists in us. So all the people who like to watch those serial killers first 48 hours, like, we have those same personalities in us. If it exists out there in the world, it exists in us because we are all one. And so one that I like to give an example of is like the rebellious teenager. And, you know, we talk about this trope all the time. It really gets on our nerves in TV shows. But this is something like we know as an archetype in the movies, but in real life too. And some of us listening may have been this rebellious teenager. And so again, it's a pattern or personality that lives in the collective unconscious, meaning just in all of our psyches and all of our auras. Is just there laying dormant until the right set of circumstances arise. So let's say this girl was good, doing well in school, and then let's say her parents get a divorce, or maybe someone in the family passes away, and now, bloop, here comes this archetype, this personality. It's like it just awakens, and it's like this mask that comes on, and then it has its own new attitude. Now she's dressing differently. Now she's talking back. Now she's skipping school. And it's literally like this personality, this archetype has just taken up shop, is what I like to say. And so that is in general what an archetype is. And I saw a website where they talk about like over 300 archetypes, because you think about, let's say, like the Casanova or the player, the chef, the teacher, like there's so many archetypes out in the world. So, but they're just personalities that come with their own set of behavior codes. The money archetypes then are personalities that we have that come up in regards to money, in regards to our career, spending, purchases, like all of that. So when a situation arises, it's like, now here comes this mask, or one of our top 3 money personalities is just gonna pop on and then we're going to act out of one of those behaviors depending on the situation. Okay. So they're always there, but it really just pops on, comes online in a situation in regards to money. And it could be something as simple as how long you take your shower, right? So like Clark, I swear my partner, he'd be clocking my showers. That sure was a long shower, Like, no, you don't do that to women. But again, like that goes back to like whatever his money story is around showers and how that's going to make the bill go up. And you know what I mean? And although I'm an accumulator and I'm all about keeping track of bills, it's like certain things is just like, no, I let myself indulge there. So I actually feel like it's a different personality type. It's not my accumulator that's allowing me to take nice long showers. Right. It's more of my alchemist, which is my third. And, they're all about, just being in the vibe and just like cool and chilling, So all day, these money archetypes can be coming up because we interact with money throughout the entire day. Do we need gas? Oh, it's the third. The cable bill needs to be, you know what I mean? Like all day, every day, these money archetypes are coming up and acting out, and hopefully, in the most positive ways, but a lot of times we're seeing the unhelpful side.
Yeah. I have questions, but I'm gonna and go further off into it. But I'm going to stick to what we have here, and then I'll ask some other questions. Okay. So are we born with the money archetypes, or how do they form?
Okay, yeah. They are really around our personality. Okay, so it's more so about just who you are naturally, because sometimes people can think that if you're in corporate, you may be more of, I don't know, let's say like a ruler type than an alchemist type, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the industry you work in. It's really about who you are as a person and how you interact with other people, interact with your environment. So someone asked me on my podcast interview last week, when she was interviewing me, she said I used you as an example, because I remember when we did the quiz, I don't remember all of your archetypes. I just remember you were a nurturer, because you and Clark both are nurturers in your top 3. I don't know where the number is, but I gave the example of that's just who you are. It doesn't have anything to do with whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're in corporate. You just take care of your people. And I was sharing how you just met my cousin at the wedding and you're the one getting up, helping her with her dress. You know what I mean? Like that's just you. I'm sure you were trying to take care of your brothers in some way as a little girl, right? Like that is just who you are. And then I gave another example of, this person in my life growing up. We grew up in a small town, and she would be like, I don't go out in Muskegon. I only go out in Grand Rapids or Detroit. And it's like, where does this come from? And she was like, had to have the name brand stuff. And it's like, from a little kid, she had this celebrity personality, right? Mm-hmm. Even though her environment didn't really reflect that, it's just naturally who she was born to be. You know what I mean? Doesn't have anything to do with her, what her career is, right?
Right. And the fact that you grew up in the same environment didn't have anything to do with her being like you, right? Or you like her.
Absolutely. So it's just who you are naturally, and you're going to answer those questions based on who you are naturally and how you interact with money naturally, and then that is how you're going to get your archetype. So it is more so about who you are as a person.
Okay. Now, I hope I don't go off on a tangent with this question, but I can't help but think of 2 things, and I'll ask one and I'll ask the other one later. But since you're talking about personalities, how does this tie into our human design? Because we have, we have like that as well. I mean, do you find that it coincides? And you might have to define what a human design is, because
Yeah, so human design actually is more like, I look at human design as our who we're here to be energetically.
okay.
This is how we use our energy in the world and in our environment.
Okay.
Okay, so it's who we're here to be energetically, and that's based on like astrology, and it's like a chakra system. The Kabbalah is like a whole, but when I work with my clients, we do work at the levels of both of them, like, because they're both equally important. Because if I'm out of alignment with my human design energetically, then I may be repelling money because I'm just out of alignment, period. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
also, one of my archetypes is the ruler. The ruler can be in burnout and like to overwork. As in my human design, I'm a projector. I don't have a lot of energy. I need a lot of rest. So can you see how, not knowing, I can just be like one part of me is tired, but another part of me is like, no, I got to get this done. You know what I mean? And then I'm at odds with myself. Whereas now, where I understand my human design, I understand my energy, and then I can clearly see when this ruler is coming up and she's trying to push me past my point of like healthy doing. You know what I mean? But I can also see when I'm just mentally trying to say I'm tired because I don't want to get something done. And I might blame it on being a projector, but I'm like, no, I know I can do it.
Right. Right. That's the reason why I asked that question, because I couldn't help but think that those two can be connected to some degree.
Absolutely.
So can your archetypes change over time?
People wonder this, but so in the money archetype philosophy that I'm taught and I work with, we're taught no. They like the archetypes you have now are the archetypes you will always have. And at first that didn't really necessarily sit right with me, but meditating on it the last couple months, what I can see, or what I think is more so the case than them shifting, is as you're working on them, you're moving from the shadow side of the archetype and living more in the light and the potential of the archetype. So it may seem like it's changed, but no, you're just not living 90% in the shadow, right? So
Negative part of it.
yeah, so like let's just say like the alchemist, now that you reconciled, okay, the movement can be important, money can be important. I believe in myself. I can turn my ideas into money, bring them to the marketplace or bring them to my boss. And now you're just like living from your wizardry, and letting yourself be a creator. You're going to feel more distant to the part of you that doesn't like money, or the part of you that doesn't believe in your ideas, but you're still an alchemist. You're just living out of the potential.
And so when you work with your clients, I know that there has to be things like identifying the archetypes is one thing, but there could be barriers like trauma-based responses that they learned from a traumatic event, or just some kind of behavior trait that they weren't even aware they picked up on from their parents or a situation. So do you find in your work you have to like heal, go through the process of like that journey of healing through that first? Or
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up and that came up for you naturally, is because like, yeah, my work. I've done a majority trauma work, and I'll give you a specific example of a client who's a connector. So we know like that's the relationship person, but her second was a celebrity. So it's like this big shot, right? So it's like almost can be, and she's more like the softer type of connector, not necessarily the network out talking to everybody, but then second is this celebrity big shot personality. And I'm like, I don't see this celebrity in you, is it there? And she's like, yeah, I just don't show it. Like I buy clothes that make me blend in because I really want to hide. And so she had sexual trauma. She had trauma around just not feeling comfortable with who she is because her family they were jocks and she's more into like Harry Potter. And so they made her like not feel okay with herself, right? So that was actually really like the first block we worked through, like the self-acceptance and allowing herself to be different. And then we really just did one deep session around that and the whole family dynamic. And then she voxed me, messaged me a couple hours later and was like, I just made an appointment with my hairstylist and I'm dyeing my hair pink. and then like the next week, yeah, and it happened just like that, like removing that block, bringing in some self-love and acceptance. And then like the next week I think she maybe did like $300 in online shopping, and she bought her like some leopard print and clothes and big chunky necklaces and earrings. And so she felt safer to start letting that part of herself come out and show up online and in her marketing. And it's like been really beautiful to witness. And even more so as we work through like the deeper sexual abuse, and then her being able to like share her story on her podcast. And like that was one of the things she really wanted to do when we first started working together. She's like, I know I'm meant to share my story of what happened, but I can't right now. So like she allow herself to shine and share her story through that healing. So when we can look at your archetypes and we can see, oh, you're not even living into this. Okay, now what's the block? And sometimes it may not be deep trauma, but a lot of times there's some kind of trauma there. And one thing I want to say is my favorite definition of trauma is a distressful event. We've all had them. So yes, there's big T trauma and little T trauma, but really we've all had some distressful events that stop us, that it's like that clenching that happens where like you get that inspired idea to do or say the thing, and then that clench, like something stops you. Like that's that protection mechanism because you've experienced something and your ego is saying, nope, we don't want to do that again. Or like you tried to stand up and talk in class and then you sneezed and everybody laughed at you. So nope, no more talking in public, right? It's just like these little things that, or big, happen. And then it still is preventing us as an adult from being who we want to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay. That's great work then. I mean, honestly, because if you think we all walk around with these things and sometimes they go unchecked for forever. And
absolutely.
I can honestly see, that happened with even the most successful entrepreneurs. They still have blockage there that prevents them from being their most high self in what they are doing.
Absolutely.
Which could even be, I don't care how successful you are, like if you're not coming from a healed place, it's always going to continue to affect your everyday life and eventually affect your business and affect your bottom line. So great. Okay. All right. That just came to my head, but so how can we use our money archetypes to make more money?
Yes. Okay.
That's the question.
Yeah, I'm sure that is a question on everybody's mind. And it can be simple, or again, it could, take a little bit more work, especially if there are some traumas and blocks. But like the simple exercise I really like to give is, if what we've talked about here, right? Like, let's say you notice some of the shadow things just from, and there's more information on each archetype than what I'm able to share here, right? But just these little pieces, you're able to see or know where you have some shadow behaviors. So then if you like make a column, like 2 columns on your paper, and then you write out those shadow behaviors, and then it's like, what is the opposite side? Like, if you weren't doing this, then what would you be doing? So let's say like a connector is I've been isolated. Like, let's say like a lot of people might have shut down around COVID or after COVID, and it like now still having a hard time getting back out there, right? So if somebody wrote down like right now, like, no, I'm not leaning on connection, I'm not reaching out to people, like I'm isolated. So then what would the other side of that look like? Right. So maybe that's getting back out there networking. Maybe that's reaching out to people, just starting some conversations. Because if that is like the personality you're here to express in regards to money, if you're not, your energy is constricting, right? So you want to be in alignment with that energy you're here to embody around money. So wherever you're seeing shadow, I want you to see it as like constriction. Like you're not acting in alignment with the relationship you're here to have with money. So as soon as you begin to stop some of those shadow behaviors, then you're opening up your energy, and money can come in right through that opening, or even just like insight and intuition on what needs to happen to bring in more money. Because when we're constricted, like when we're in shadow, it's like we can't hear. It's like a wall up. We can't hear spirit as clear. We can't hear intuition. Or if we do hear, we're doubting. You know what I mean? So as soon as you stop some of these behaviors, so let's say even for me, the accumulator, that it's one thing to be, there's nothing wrong with being frugal. It's really around the place, the energy that you're coming from, because you can be a conscious spender, but are you being frugal from a place of fear and scarcity? So if you're being, and you know me, I've been here in and out of this place throughout our entire umpteen years of knowing each other. But when anyone is in that constriction, fear around money, really you're saying, I don't trust money. I don't trust God. So like you're repelling. You're not in the energy of attraction. You're repelling, right? So somebody, let's say before me learning about archetypes, or me before learning about energy, I could have really spent all my life being in fear around money and continuously blocking it. But as you know, if it's just been a journey of opening, then maybe closing, but then knowing I'm not supposed to be, you know what I mean? It's an evolution because there is this awareness here now. So when you can see, again, those shadow, unhelpful or toxic behaviors, it's like, what is the opposite? What does the other side of this look like? And then it's doing the work to get to the other side. And also it's going to take honesty, right? Because let's say like my client who had that celebrity and they like to shine. Okay, well, what is in the way of me shining? And then she might be, I don't feel safe being seen. Okay, why don't I feel safe being seen? And like, that's when you keep asking those questions and going deeper and deeper. And then that's when you get to the thing and you're like, okay, that's actually where the work needs to be done.
Okay. And working with you helps people to like get all the way in, dig deep, and uncover those things, so it won't, will it feel like work? Like, like what does it look like on the other side of that? Like the feeling, will it feel like it's, to me, I just envision it's feeling like a bunch of weight being lifted off of me.
Absolutely. Like that's general, like that's the number one thing I hear people say about the energy work. It's like, I feel lighter. I can't believe I've been carrying this around. Like, I didn't even know this was this heavy until now it's off. You know what I mean? I had one client, this was years ago, but it always sticks with me because she was like, she messaged me the next day after we did like a deep healing session on something she'd been holding on to in a relationship. And she said, girl, I have not slept this good since 1998. And she
like she knew.
Yeah, because like the whole thing in a relationship happened way back then, and she'd been carrying it and not even realizing how much it's been weighing on her day to day, still there, you know what I mean, and affecting her until she had a real peaceful night's sleep because that monkey wasn't on her back. Wow. You know what I mean? So it's like you carry these things for so long, you don't really notice that it's there until you notice something's off. You know what I mean? But you don't really know the extent of it until it's gone. You know what I mean?
Because it's like learned behavior, so to speak. Like when you take it on and it settles in your, like I say, the fiber of your being, right? It becomes a part of you. And now I look at it as like a crossroads, so to speak. Like the person you were supposed to be suddenly got off track, and now you're over here when you should have been going this way, but because this event happened, you're off track.
Yes.
But you're okay because you're just moving along and you're thinking you're getting somewhere, but you're not, because you have this thing that's preventing you, right? I hope I said that right. But
No, it makes complete sense. And I do look at healing work as helping you to get on your right path, because
okay.
you're exactly right. Because let's just even continue on that conversation about my client, that the celebrity. Now she's, because of the things that happened to her in her path, she's now on this path where the lights are dim. She's not really being seen, doesn't feel safe being seen. She's hiding. And there's a whole other path of spotlights and cameras flat, you know what I mean? Like where she's supposed to be being seen and comfortable being seen, and people want to see her, but she's on a whole other different path. You know what I mean? Yes.
Coping with dealing with what,
exactly. Yes.
Side, it wasn't supposed to be her anyway, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's beautiful. Yes. So I have a question. And it just comes up to me, like when we first started the conversation, how does law of attraction play into money archetypes? Like for me, and what I was saying was like, when I can envision things, like it's a clear path and so knowing, and I just kind of take one foot in front of the other and walk towards it, and it usually comes true. And I have a belief of it being that. I kind of meld myself with that feeling, so to speak, and know it's going to happen. But when it comes to the business side of me that wants to create, resources for myself, I don't have that. I don't know how to create that connection. And does law of attraction apply here, or is it a combination, or it's like a whole nother conversation?
It kind of is a whole nother conversation, but then again, not really. So law of attraction applies to everything, and it's the law of creation. It's the law of thinking. It's the law of energy and being. So like our money archetypes, again, when we are acting from the shadow side, we're in that constriction, we're in fear, we're in doubt, we're in whatever that coping mechanism, whatever it is we're doing to feel that void, like if you're or that insecurity. So you're more likely going to be you're cutting off the expanded version of what you could be attracting, because you're more in a constricted energy, right? So if you're fearful about putting ideas out there, then you're attracting more fear, right? And more doubt. It's just going to keep coming. It's like, you know what I mean? But then as soon as you can start to step into possibility, well, maybe this, and maybe if I try this, then law of attraction picks up, and now you're getting more ideas and more ideas. So it's like a momentum that is happening. But I want to say, when it comes to our own businesses versus career, there is a difference. There's a difference. We weren't raised to be entrepreneurs. So like that neural pathway in the brain is still, let's just say, new in the collective consciousness. Whereas ever since we've been born, we've known about going to high school, then college, then get a job. And even if you don't go to college, you're still, the next thing is get a job, go work for somebody, get a paycheck. That neural pathway is there. It's set. We know how to walk that path with our eyes closed, right? Some people, of course, still have some issues, maybe could like self-worth stuff, where they don't go for the job that's, paying them more money. Like there's that stuff, of course. But when it comes to being in our own business, it's really like, I see it like the wearing your heart on your sleeve, because it's an extension of your heart, right? And I feel like, at least for the people who will be listening to this podcast, and It's coming from your heart. It's not, you're not the person that's like, okay, let me look through the list of products and what's going to make me the most money, right? Like that's that masculine energy. And we know there are people that do that. They pick that thing, they don't give a shit about it, but they think that people will buy it. So then they build a business around it. And, you know, some people are able to be very, very successful, right? But more, you know, you like heart-centered, empathic, sensitive people, we're putting things out into the marketplace with our hearts. And so then it's like putting it's a vulnerable place and space to be in.
Yeah.
Right. And so there does have to be work sometimes. Like for me, for instance, I had to do work around my abandonment issues and my rejection issues that stemmed from childhood, that stemmed from my daddy issues, to help me have a sense of armor when putting myself out in the marketplace. And there's still a lot of tenderness and work, you know, to be done with really showing up and being visible to the extent that I could be. But I'm just saying there was a lot of work that had to do with like that sense of rejection, where it's like, it's not that they're rejecting you, like you as a soul, you as your God self. They just may not be interested in your product or service right now for whatever reason. And so being able to make that distinction between who I am and then what I'm offering, but they feel like they're the same, you know, in the beginning.
It's like you're birthing your baby.
Yeah, it's your baby. Yeah, it's like somebody saying you got an ugly baby, and it's like, no, don't. You know what I mean? Like that's the way we look at our business. Like we don't want anybody to not want our baby, so we rather just hold it and keep it covered and rock it and love it all to ourselves. But then that doesn't bring us the abundance that we desire.
That makes sense. Okay, before I get to my final question, I wanted to share with the audience, you know, what I resonated with. Like when we wrote down the 8, I put a check, and the last one came last. So I checked the other ones first. But what I know to be true without taking the quiz is nurturer is probably my biggest. I don't know what order that will fall. I would gamble it's number 1, but I don't know. The other one would be romantic. So I think between those two, I don't know which one is first, but I resonate. And then the other two that I know it's not my 1 or 2, but they're somewhere in there, is the alchemist and the connector.
Okay.
The alchemist, because of the dream aspect, like I fantasize a lot, that I think that has more to do with my horoscope as a Cancer than it does my relationship with money. But because you called it out, you know, I can see I am an ideals person. So I know that I can envision things and I can create magic and make them happen if I put enough energy towards it. Or I just let it be a dream and let it go. But connector, of course, I do love to connect people. I love to help people like along. So if there's someone that I know over here that can help you with this, that's more where it is, but I don't really think that equates to money. So I don't know.
Well, it might equate to money for them.
For them, right. Which ties into my nurturing.
Yeah.
But I will say through my journey, I'm not as much a nurturer anymore. So romantic is still probably where I'm most at, like in the sense of, you know, I tie memory to purchasing and it feels good, and the feeling of it, because I'm a feels person, right? So I can see where there's some work there that needs really to be done. And so yeah.
So are you saying, I think what you're trying to say is that you're more in the nurturer's potential or positive side versus shadow side?
Yes,
you
that's
are through and through a nurturer.
Yes. Okay. But I have gotten burned one too many times, but I understood that it came down to my boundaries. And just a little background on myself, in case your listeners, someone out there may relate to this. But when I was young, I went from a 2-parent household and feeling secure and like having like never really, I never was taught to value money in that way, but we always had what we needed. So, you know, and I always knew not to ask for too much, but I never felt like I lacked anything. But when I got older and parents separated, there was a feeling of some abandonment issues that came to play in my, you know, vulnerable years. And that created this sense of insecurity where I wasn't secure before. Now all of a sudden there's all this unknownness that I had to kind of navigate through. And that created this need to like take care of myself. Like I need to be able to make money, but I had no like knowledge base of how to do that. And so it went more into the let's just take care of the needs of now versus the future. Like, you know, so whatever it is I needed to do that was pleasing now, financially better for me now, I would do. But I'm trying to get more in the accumulator.
Yeah, I'm sure that's somewhere in your like top versus like the low. I know it wouldn't be your number 8 because like you're the person I still will come to for some, you know. I mean, well, you also have the tax information, but like you know about the credit cards and the interest rates, and you know what I mean. Like you know some money stuff in that way. You know what I mean. So I know accumulator has to be. It's like I'm sure it's like in your top 5, girl.
Yes, but you know that me wanting to know about that not only just for myself but to help others is because I didn't have an awareness. A part of my human is if there's something I need to know, I'm going to learn it. Like I don't care if I had to get a certification, take a class or whatever, like I'm going to do that so that I can be in the knowledge. And then I like to share the knowledge. So that's just, you know, where that comes from. But now I need to turn that knowledge into some queens.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my final question is, how can someone learn more about the money archetypes and work with you?
Okay. Yeah. So again, you want to start with the quiz. So this was a fun exercise, just intuitive to kind of see, but you never really know until you go through all of those questions. So set you 10, 15 minutes aside. It generally takes about 8, but go ahead and set 15 minutes aside so you're not rushing. And you're like really sitting with the questions. You don't have to overthink, but you don't want to feel like you're rushing. You're not on a timer. So you're going to go to essenceturner.com/sacred money quiz, or just essenceturner.com, and it's actually one of the buttons on the homepage. And right now you can take the quiz for free and even get access to module 1 of my Sacred Money Archetype mini course. And the mini course is a very low price right now. It's unbelievably low, and you get more information on your archetypes and more exercises so you can get to know and understand these personalities and see how they are showing up and operating in your life, maybe even in ways you didn't know. And now once you bring more awareness to them, then you can change these behaviors now that they're in your awareness and no longer unconscious. So those are like the 2 like first beginner steps. You can also book a reading. And this is where we'll take 75 minutes together. You can either have done the quiz first, or I can walk you through the quiz on the call. And then what we'll do is we'll see where you are out of alignment with money, and then how we can bring these 3 archetypes into harmony. So now you're working in alignment with money so that you can bring more in, or bring more calmness, or whatever your goal around money is. Then we can see how to bring these 3 together, working in harmony, so you can reach your desired outcome.
Okay.
And then further past that is I have a 3-month program, and this is where we'll go through the Sacred Money Archetype has a whole curriculum that we go through with different exercises and worksheets to really ground you into the potential. So you're living out of what I like to call the enlightened state of your archetypes. And then we'll also have enough time where we're working through any trauma or shadow stuff or fears that come up, because this stuff lives in the body. And we're doing the energy work to help remove these blocks so you can fully step forward into the potential, and you're able to live this out beyond the 3-month program, like for the rest of your life, because you've cleared some of those blocks that have been holding you back. And that is called Soulful Sacred Abundance, that 3-month program. And that is on the website as well.
Soulful Sacred Abundance.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I'm getting and gathering is that if you are a serious entrepreneur, or even if you're in a career mindset and you want to get serious about your relationship with money, you have to do the work too. It's not something that someone can just wave a wand and say, poof, you're fixed. So it sounds like your course, working with you, will guide you along that path, and you're providing different ways for people to be affected positively with their money archetype. So that is fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really feel like this is my calling. Money and I have had such a love-hate relationship, and it can be, magical and beautiful at times. Like, I remember you just used to be in awe of and then I go through periods. It's like, hey, where's my manifestation magic? You know what I mean? It's just such an up and down thing that I want to really master the energetics around this for myself, and I want to help other people, and especially women, with the emotional side of money. And it's resulted in more money in our physical reality, but I wasn't empowered around money growing up. I always felt like my money would come from a man. That's just the way I always grew up in thinking. And now that I'm like, oh, I can make my own money and be my own boss, I want to have the best relationship with money so I can make the most money that I can. And I want to help other women with this as well. So like, this is, really the path that I'm leaning into right now.
That's really good. I mean, it's the world that we live in now. As women can be bosses just like men, and we can command a coin just like men, if not more sometimes. And the mind shift has to take place as well. And we're just not grown up as young girls of our generation to really be in that mindset. But for those who have kids, even when you have a positive relationship with money and you're able to generate it, you're creating a mindset for your children to also develop that good relationship. And what I understand about sometimes with people, I was having a talk with my boss, my director, and she said, she came from India. She came from money, right? Basically, she doesn't work or want for money. And it's a different thought process when you grow up. She was like, her husband wasn't the same. He had to work hard to get to where, and so he has a different value system and relationship with money. This actually real talk happened today. And I was just listening to her because I'm like, yeah, I guess you do have a different mindset when you're used to having it. You don't even think about it. It's no longer this unattainable thing. It's just there. Just, like it's like an expectation. You don't even have it as an obstacle. Yeah. And so when you have a good relationship with money, if you have kids and family, look up to you, peers, that can affect other people in a positive way. And if more of us can have that good relationship, then we can create, maybe that wealth gap can lessen a little bit for a lot of underserved communities.
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. It's so true. I will be doing an episode on what I'm going to call what's your financial or money legacy? And it doesn't have anything to do with how much you're leaving behind. It's like, what energetic imprint about money are you leaving your kids and your family with? Like, because this goes on for generations, you know what I mean? And so it can stop with you, and you can turn it, if scarcity has been passed down in your generation, or under earning, because it's not, you learn that it ain't right to ask for more, or whatever it is being passed down in your family. Like, you can be the one that said, nope, we're not doing this anymore. We are going after them coins. We are open up and we are receiving, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, like, this is our time now. Yeah.
It is. And educating, like the mindset is one part. Okay. So this is the other part that I think about is educating yourself around money and how to make money work for yourself. So once you can develop that good relationship with money, it's now developing habits, as you're accumulating and bringing that money in to continue the path. Like you have to educate yourself about finances and money. And if you can't do it, you need to pay somebody. That's for sure. And
Absolutely.
setting up that legacy for generational wealth, like it's so empowering. Like it's incredible. Um, yeah, it's very empowering. So this was great.
This was great. And you know how we close circle, as we'll generally say, like what are we taking away from
Mhm.
circle? And so I know you probably didn't have a lot of information on the archetypes other than what you may see me post online. So I would love to just hear one or two things that you're taking away from circle today.
Well, so yes, you're right. I didn't know what this was, which I'm thankful for because we talk a lot about a lot of the work that you do. But the money archetypes was kind of an enigma for me. And so going through this and just identifying, now I'm really eager to find the results of my quiz. So I'm definitely going to do that. Um, and just understanding, better about, my money blocks. Like, and I need to work with you on getting past them because I know that I'm holding my own self back when it comes to it. And I see how this work is necessary um, for you to become a full, well-rounded and receiving money entrepreneur. So yeah, that's the thing. And I like how you said that you have to like have your shadows written down on one side and then you have your potential on the other. And the thing that I wrote down was fear and constriction on the shadow side and belief and alignment on the other. And so that was the notes that I took and it resonated with me. Now I want to write my list and I can see I could probably say shadow all day, but I'm not sure how I'm like the work on the potential will be hard, but I'm up for that challenge. So maybe next time we talk, I can share that list with you.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, because it might be a challenge, y'all. That is, again, money is such a tender place for us, and there's going to be a part of you that does not even want to look at the potential, right? There's fear there, and it's like just love yourself through it. And maybe today, one of the answers for what it looked like on the other side may not come through, and that's okay. But come back tomorrow or the day out, like keep coming back and filling in those pieces. Like if you show up, spirit shows up for you. So I'm really glad you brought that up too. So nothing has gone wrong. If it's hard, that is totally natural. And for me, just like having this conversation and like seeing you have your light bulb moments, it's reminded me again, just like this work is important. And I'm just so excited to keep sharing it. So like, I'm just taking away, like, keep sharing, keep going, let everybody know about this, bring as much awareness to all this as I can. So
Yes.
all right, and so with that, we are going to close circle. So if you would just close your eyes with me. If you're driving, please keep your eyes open, and we're just going to close with our 3 deep breaths. So taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just bringing to mind, seeing us all in circle again. Breathing in and exhale. This last breath, just taking in all the love and energy from all your sisters and everyone energetically been involved in this episode now and in the future. And exhale. Just feeling gratitude for whatever you've learned, what you're taking away, and the seeds that have been planted. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Beautiful. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and I will see you on the next circle.
Bye.